Good afternoon, everybody. It's Wednesday. It's midday, which means one thing. It's Wow Ergonomics back for a new season, new year, even. Happy New Year to you. Slange Mahar.
Happy New Year to you, Graham. So we managed to get another... we didn't get cancelled, basically, did we? In sort of American TV sort of terminology, we managed to secure another series.
Yep. Just seen blinking away in the corner over there. It's just said, you are now live on YouTube. So hi to everyone on YouTube. Hi to everyone on Twitter as well.
Yeah.
Very different demographic there. And hello to everybody in LinkedIn land. Here we are back again. Wow Ergonomics for another season. Different game.
Yeah.
Same old banter.
Yeah.
But maybe
absolutely.
slightly more spiced up. Today we've got a great main topic. If you're going to hang around for the topic today, guys, the main topic of today is going to be driverless cars. Did a poll on it yesterday, saw the nation divided, thought, got to bring this up today. It's got to be done. And you never know, we might have some people that want to come on and talk about that. But first, let's meet our very special first guest of 2022.
Yeah.
Not
You almost you got stuck there, didn't you, Graham? 2000.
I was trying to work out which buttons to press.
Oh, well.
Special guest. It's Mr Sherreard. James, hello. You can take yourself off mute, sir.
That would help, wouldn't it? Yes. Hello.
There we go. That was a technical test as well. There we go. James, how are you, sir?
Yeah, well, thanks.
Good. Where are you coming from?
I'm not coming from anywhere. I'm just sitting in my chair.
Oh, see, he's dry, isn't he? Very dry. Yeah. It's and
yep.
Has Mrs Sherreard made you a cup of tea yet, or was
no? I don't drink tea or coffee. So
don't you?
No, I don't.
No. What's your tipple?
Sorry.
What's your tipple?
My tipple? That's a very private question. I don't think I should answer that.
It means what's your drink? What do you drink?
Oh, what do I drink? Well, definitely not tipple. I don't really drink much, to be honest. Occasionally, I'll have a Pepsi or a Coke, water.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, well, that's my caffeine hit.
That's your. Oh, yeah. Well, unless you're maxing it, of course.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, true.
Yeah,
which is the only option in a lot of places. So
well, it is now. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Or Coke Zero, which is water basically.
Now with Coke though, you can get sugar free and you can get caffeine free, can't you? They don't. Is there one that is caffeine and sugar free?
Yeah, that's Max, isn't it?
That's Max.
Or has Max got caffeine in it? I really don't know. I'm confused now. Once upon a time, your Coke had everything.
I just say, can I not just pay a bit extra and have the normal stuff?
Can I just have everything in it, please? There we go. We've got some comments coming in already. Yeah. Happy New Year, Stephanie. Thank you.
Happy New Year, Stephanie.
Nice to see you, Nadia. Good morning, Graham, Stephen, James. Hope you had. Yeah, we had a lovely Christmas.
We did.
A New Year. Yeah, very, very, very good indeed. I worked most of it. That's just the best way, isn't it?
Has everyone got have you got your decks down by Graham? The house. Have you taken your decorations down?
Oh,
or is it just your decorations behind you there? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything's gone.
Right.
Everything's gone.
Yeah.
There we go.
Except I've left one thing out. I haven't taken down the lights that hang on the guttering at the front. That's my one job I have to do.
Happy New Year to Mr. Rigby. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Tony's on it already. People's natural instinct is to believe they are better drivers than they really are. Driverless cars. We'll come back to you, Tony. Keep on it. We're gonna be on driverless cars in a little while, sir. Nadia believes that sugar-free is the worst to drink. I don't know. I don't drink anything with sugar in it, actually. I used to, long time ago. I remember when I used to have tea, but with two sugars in it.
Wow,
really, really bad.
And how many a day? How many a day would you do?
Oh, 5 or 6 of those. And then it was an ex-girlfriend's. This was when I was really young, because my parents brought me up on teas and coffees. And then an ex-girlfriend's sister refused to make it for me with sugar in it, and it weaned me off. So that's all you need, folks. If you're trying to get off sugar, just have someone that's obstinate in your life, and that will soon get you out of that. And you'll be sorted. And and that's the right thing to do. And then, of course, I married a dentist, and now I'm not allowed sugar at all. So there we go.
Is she very strict with the family on sugar, Graham, Mrs. C? Is she very?
Is she ever?
Really?
Yeah. Sweets only at weekends and only at meal times as well. And that's the thing. I've seen a lot of confused people about sugar in drinks and other things like that. It's not complicated. It really isn't. All it means is just don't drink it or eat it throughout the whole day. If you're going to have sugar, eat it while you're eating, when you're having meals, right? And then make sure you clean your teeth properly and floss. Floss is important. Ooh. Do you floss, James?
Yes, I do.
You see, James is a flosser. Stephen, are you a flosser?
The dentist always says, "Do you floss?" And I say, "Yeah."
I bet you do.
I do it that day when I get in, and then I sort of move on from it. Really, it's sort of like, in 6 months, I'll just give them the same story again. So no, I have to say, I'm told, and I don't do it.
I've got one of those. Ones. Yeah, I've got the little electric one, and you can get all in and clean your teeth properly.
Nice.
That was my first purchase when we went into lockdown. I was like, all the dentists are shut. I thought, well, I'll buy some teeth stuff off Amazon to keep my teeth clean.
Electric flosser.
There we go. I've drink tea without sugar for over 25 years. Stopped putting sugar in tea when I was 15. There you go. You got similar situation. Absolutely. That's the way to go. James, just tell us before we play the brand new game, what is it that you do?
I'm an IT engineer. It's nothing that fancy.
Oh, come on. It's a great job. Where would we be in this world without IT engineers?
Well, we wouldn't be having this conversation, would we?
Well, exactly. Exactly that. What does an IT engineer actually do?
Well, IT is such a broad subject, so they can cover lots of things. But at the moment, I am just mostly break and fix on a service desk. And I do a lot of helping other engineers. So
right. Yeah. So you're the engineer of engineers.
Not there are several lines above me as well.
Oh right.
But yes.
Does that get complicated if there's lots and lots of lines in the chain?
No, not really.
Okay.
No.
It's not everybody just.
But there's different departments and other stuff. There'll be like a projects department, and they'll hand over once it's completed to the service desk to then support and that kind of thing. But there's like I've got a senior engineer that will work above me, and that if I get stuck, I'll take stuff to him. So
you see, when you've got a serious computer network, really, because then you've got a line of engineers to sort it out, right? When you work for yourself and you've got a computer, you literally go, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Now, Graham, just to tie this back to sort of ergonomics slightly, where me and you have frequent conversations where we see laptops flat on tables and it's sort of head in hands moment. For James, what is the biggest sort of, not this again, that you come across from an IT perspective? What's the sort of common mistake that is made that you think, I can't believe they're doing that?
Ooh, that's a
that's a $1 million question. That is
not connected to Wi-Fi is probably the biggest one.
Yes, brilliant.
This
Especially
isn't working.
These days.
Can't get this working. I don't understand why I'm having problems with this, and we'll go, we can't seem to remotely log into your device at the moment. Can you restart it? Get our connection software working? No, still not working. Is it connected? Oh, yeah. Oh, look, everything's working now.
Also, I mean, you say that, but is that a generational thing as well?
No.
Because
really?
Well,
not a generational thing.
No.
No,
I'm
people sometimes
surprised.
they literally just don't notice sometimes that their laptop
Right.
has dropped off the Wi-Fi.
But do you get people, because in this day and age, a lot of software is now cloud-based, and so it's not native. It doesn't actually sit on the machine. Do you get people that just don't realise that, and actually, because my generation grew up with all software was loaded onto the machine. In fact, we used to sit there with cassette tapes loading stuff onto machines, or big reels, but so you had to wait, and then you loaded the software on, and then the software was on the machine. So if it went wrong, it was because something had gone wrong on the machine with that software. But if it's cloud based, then it can literally just all stop working because you haven't got Wi-Fi. Do some people just not realize that?
Yeah.
It's great, that is.
We can see the frustration in his eyes. You can see it, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, there's loads of different things that you come across all the time, but that's probably because then you're like, oh, we've gone through all of these things and you were never on the Wi-Fi in the first place, or not connected to the net. Or sometimes they're on the public Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Rather than like the corporate Wi-Fi, which always makes a difference.
Yeah. But then that works the other way as well, doesn't it? Because then sometimes if they're trying to then access something that's that doesn't like VPNs and it doesn't like firewalls and whatever else, they go, well, it's not working. It's not working for me. And it's because this only works if it's an open network, and they're sat behind all of this stuff. That's a massive issue in universities, actually, Stephen.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, quite often, because in my previous role, you used to go and demonstrate stuff in universities. And before you'd go to the university to demonstrate any of your software, which was cloud-based, you had to make sure that the IT department knew exactly what was happening and that you were allowed access, because everything was bolted down, absolutely everything. And if you just turned up and went, right, I'm going to load on it, it would be like, no, that's not getting through. This isn't getting through, etc. You literally had to get them, and they'd sit there and go, what you want? You want access to? You just get these grumbles, all
eyes rolling,
head
scratching.
Yeah. Do you feel sometimes, James, that people feel like you're the enemy?
No, not at all.
Oh, right, that's good.
Yeah, my ethos has always been mostly because I'm like the break fix. That it doesn't matter if people are angry or upset or whatever it is. Mostly they're just ringing us because they need help. So just helping people.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to just take them on.
James, if there was one sort of change or development or something that would make your life a lot easier, what would you like to see? And it can be a little bit sort of blue sky, but if there was one thing that you could make reality, what would save you a whole load of time? People just being a little bit more able to self-serve? Would it be as simple as that? Or is there something that you think, I wish they would do that because it would save all that time?
I wish every company would have an on-site IT presence. That's what would save you time, because
is it one of those things that actually where we've transferred a lot of things remotely, but you still could do with someone physically sitting there in a building who can walk and sit next to someone and hands-on touch the problem?
Oh yeah. So
if you're talking about obviously remote working like this, you can do the job. That's fine. You can do the job. But if you're talking about saving time, what would save the most time? It would be having someone physically there that could just walk over and sit next to them and go, what's your problem?
Yeah.
And then work through it with them right there and then in person in real time, rather than it always having to be backdated. Because it's like, I've got this problem. I had this problem earlier and I don't know what to do. And then it's like 2 hours later, we might be able to get back to them if we're busy, if we haven't been able to answer the phone, or they've just sent an email in about it. And then you're like, it's always catch up, if that makes sense. So if you're talking about saving time, then just being able to deal with it then and there in person, that would make the most difference. And then you can do like the higher level stuff remotely. But just having every company, in my opinion, should have someone who is IT literate and understands the systems and what's going on. Even if it's not the main purpose of their job,
yeah,
I think every company should have someone like that.
And then let's face it, isn't that exactly the same with ergonomics?
Yeah,
Steve, it really
absolutely.
is. It's one thing. It's quite interesting because a lot of ergonomic assessment has moved online. It had to move online with COVID, but it's still nothing like actually being on site and being able to see what the problem is. Because, you know, when you're looking at someone through a Zoom screen, etc., you literally just see a bit of it. But what you don't see is that actually that person's on the 3rd floor, and in order to get to their desk, they have to walk half a mile, and you know where they're sitting, there's not a lot of access, and all of those other little nuances which you can only see when you're walking with them through the building.
You can take it so far. You can you do it? Absolutely you can, but is it giving the absolute gold or platinum service? Probably not. You can, as you say, because of COVID, that's how people had to start working from an assessment perspective, and it will work to a point, but as I say, there's always that little sort of gap at the end that is filled by that physical presence, as you say, you know, when yourself or whoever it was, Graham, going and actually seeing that person in situ. You can't ever replicate that over Teams or Zoom, and I guess that's what James is saying from an IT perspective. You know, yes, you can do so many things remotely, but there's always that little gap at the end that isn't being filled by the fact that somebody is physically next to you, having a look, touch and feeling your computer and resolving the issue.
Absolutely. Now, I want us to get on with the game, but one last question to lead us into the game, James, which is really important, and that I really want to know is how much training does an IT technician get on ergonomics?
On ergonomics?
Yeah.
Very little.
There you see, there's part of the problem. Right, you see. Well, today we're going to help with that.
In fairness, my company do say, like, if you need anything, like, stuff.
You see,
that's all the other things, and they'll get it for us straight away.
That's the problem, right? That's the problem. If you need anything, we'll just get it for you, right? That's like saying to an IT technician, right, or an IT technician saying to someone at the other end, if you've got a problem, you need Wi-Fi. I mean, obviously, it's too broad, right? The thing is that you need, in every situation with ergonomics, you need expert advice, because unless you're an expert, you don't know what you need. So actually, you might have someone say, well, we can just go and get it for you, but you don't know what it is that you need. See? Right, here we go with the game. Right.
Do I need a scarf? I don't need a scarf anymore.
You don't need a scarf. You need one of these. You got one of these?
As I lean down here to...
Yeah, a phone. James has got his phone. Now, if you're watching this at home, everybody, or your office or wherever you are, you can play along too. On the screen in a minute is going to come a little screen. I'm going to share it here with you. There we go. And if you go to on your URL bar in your favorite browser, if you know what that is, folks, Chrome.
If not, James will tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Don't ask me.
Chrome is one, or Safari, or whatever. If you put vvox.app, you should then get something that asks you for an ID. And if you put that ID in and you put your name in, etc., then we can play. Just let us know when you've done that, guys. And all shall be good. And then I'm going to start the session. There we are. So we can see that. Please submit your questions and like those sent by others. If you want to like any answers that other people have put, you can do that as well. There you go. Are you both in?
Yes.
Yep. You're both ready to go. Okay. Yeah. So what we've done, Stephen, you haven't been told what the parameters of this are.
No, and I've got a horrible feeling this is going to go very wrong for me.
So I just thought it'd be really good to test you, Stephen, on the information that's on the Backer website.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to see how well you know.
Can I just ask, can we check if anyone from Backer is actually watching?
Anyone?
Or
from
whether
back
we
watching?
maybe, because this could be one of the low points of my career.
It should be fun. James obviously has been clued up as to what this game's about and has been studying the Backer website for the last week. All right, so it should be quite a close match, I think. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to start with the first question. I'm going to open. It's a poll question. It's multiple choice, Stephen. So you should be okay.
No, I can just see a picture on my screen on my phone. Okay.
So you should now get a question up on the screen. According to the Backer website, the Filex Galaxy is available for 2 screens, 3 screens, or 3 screens.
What's 3 screens?
Which is the correct answer? If you'd like to vote, everyone's going for 2 screens. Yeah. Shall I show you the correct answer? The correct answer is, all right, you ready for this? 2 screens.
Basically, there's a typo on the website.
Basically,
I thought it was a number I'd never heard. I was thinking, is this something that everyone else is in on? I don't know.
I actually had to go and research this in case twee was an actual thing. But I believe this is a typo. So this is one for you to feed back on. So apparently, all these questions are on the Filex Galaxy. All right, Steve?
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be great. And at the end, you can tell us a little bit about the Filex Galaxy. That would be good.
Thank you.
All right. So the next one.
Okay.
Is the Filex can turn up what number of degrees on any of the joints? 90, 240, or 180? Let's have a look at see what people are voting. We're going for 180. Everybody's voted 180. Okay, and the correct answer is 180. Well done, guys. Well done. Very, very good. The Filex has what kind of technology embedded? Water spring, bed spring, gas spring, or hydraulic? Oh, 50-50.
Oh.
Hydraulic, gas spring. Okay, so let's see what the right answer is. The right answer is gas spring. Who was that?
Stephen got it right.
Oh.
This is like tense.
It's great. Right, now, this is great. According to who does an optimal monitor position cause fewer neck problems? Right? It's one of those sets of people. Yeah. We've got a guess at Kumar, 1994, McKinnon.
Just to be different. I saw it come up and I thought I'm not going to follow him. I'll just go with the random.
Okay. So I'm going to close that. Right. And I'm going to show the correct answer. It's the second one.
Oh, how embarrassing.
Oh, this is great. Right. So I think let's just have a look at the leaderboard at the moment. Let's have a look. We've got 2 people on the. Let's have a look at the full list. 2 participants, and you're equal first at the moment.
Okay.
Equal first. There we go. Oh dear. Right. Next poll. An optimal screen height increases productivity, according to the website, by what? 15%, 12%, 10%, or 8%? Oh, 50-50 split again. 15% and 10%. And the correct answer is 10%. Who was that?
Oh dear, Stephen.
Not me.
It wasn't you. 10%.
15% just seemed too much.
Yeah.
Next poll. Poll.
Dear.
The depth range of the product is 58. Well, one of those options. Which one is it, guys?
What was this for?
It's a monitor arm.
Okay, yeah, that's the
It's,
monitor
so
arm.
it's a monitor arm, yeah, and it's the
previous
range.
thing we were talking about,
yeah,
in the previous questions.
Yeah,
the depth range.
Oh, very good. Got one at 54 millimeters to 600 millimeters.
Yeah, okay. So.
This is a great way to learn this data, isn't it, Stephen?
Absolutely.
I mean, you're going to walk away from this knowing this now.
I'm probably going to walk away looking for another job if it carries on as it is.
That's fine. If I beat you, Stephen, will they offer me your job?
There's every chance. I mean, the only thing is, if we did a job swap, I'd just be saying press Control Alt Delete or switch off and switch on again. So,
yeah.
Right. The correct answer was actually A, 58 to 536 millimeters. There you go. Quite an odd number.
Mm.
There you go.
Yeah, it's very specific.
It's very, very specific, isn't it? Right. The height range of the product.
Oh, Graham.
Come on. You can do it. What's the height range? There's a lot of thinking going on here, which I like. A lot of technical thinking. Okay, so we've got an answer each. And the correct answer is B. Nobody got that right. 246 to 551. Again, quite a specific number. Okay. But of course, these are technical details, so they have to be right, don't they, Stephen? Because
absolutely.
If they're
like twee.
They're like twee. Now, this is the one I'm hoping Stephen will get right. Which of these is the product code for the product?
And I know which two it's not.
Okay. That's good. Because so you know how many digits are in the correct code, is what you're saying. We've got two, both going for the bottom one. And the answer
strategic.
Is, yeah, very good. Let's see, the correct answer is actually number 3. It's a 9421. Everybody knows that.
Everyone knows that. Well, except for me and James. Well, except for me, because James just followed me.
Right. Yeah. Now, this one's particularly for Stephen. Oh. On the 10th of May 2011, Sutton Coldfield took part in their first ever Birmingham Senior Cup final, which they won with a 1-0 win over which of these other football clubs? I mean, Stephen, if you don't know this. For anyone that doesn't know, Stephen is a big Sutton Coldfield fan. And as of last season, we had the Sutton Coldfield scarf out all of the time. You've both gone for Nuneaton Town. You're both confident with that. Well, let's have a look and see. The correct answer was Nuneaton Town. Wow. Wow.
That's like a weight's been lifted after that question.
Absolutely. Well, guys, you've done so well. That is the end of the quiz. You've reached 9 out of 9. Let's have a look at the leaderboard. Okay. We have a first and second. Right. One with 5 out of 9. Okay. And oh dear. So who got the 5 out of 9? Did you actually put names in or not?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did. Okay.
No, I didn't.
Oh wait, no, I didn't.
No, it didn't. I didn't give me a chance to.
I didn't give you a chance to. Okay.
He won.
I think.
I got on my screen. Hold on.
What did it say on your screen?
First place.
First place. Second place. Look at that. There you go.
Well done, James.
Oh my goodness.
Well
Stephanie says hilarious.
It's pretty impressive, really.
Was that my score she was referring to?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was brilliant, wasn't it?
Are we doing this every week?
Another product next week.
But you're not going to let me swat up on it, are you?
You can go and swat up, but you'll have to swat up on the whole of the website.
Okay. Well, I maybe need to do some proofreading after Twee.
Yeah. If it's the whole, I thought you were about to say the whole of the internet, because you could just get him, you could tell him it's going to be about his website, and then just do some other complete random.
Hey, this is hard enough as it is,
topic.
James. Don't start making it worse and give him ideas.
So every week it will be one product from the Backer website. Now, can you tell us a little bit about that particular product?
I can.
Well, just quickly.
Go on, James.
I've just had an email from recruitment at Backer.
Yeah.
Well played. Yeah. They need an IT technician.
On site.
Yeah.
So Filex Galaxy. So it's a relatively new product for us as a business, but the beauty of it is it's a modular monitor arm, which basically means that you can. The best way to describe it is our warehouse is like a big Lego set. So rather than buying an off-the-shelf product, you can just buy and build your own monitor arm to suit yourself. So there's a configurator on our website where you can build the website, you can build the arm, so you get to choose the type of clamp for the desk. You can choose the color, you can choose all the different parts. But the beauty of it is if you ever change in the future, so if your IT department decided that we're going to go from single screen to dual screen, rather than throwing away what you've got, you simply buy one or two additional accessories and you convert that single to a dual, or you could go dual to 3 or 4 or whatever it would be. So I guess it's a future-proof product. So, you're not buying it off the shelf. You can build it yourself, and you can also adapt it and change it going forward. So it's got a nice future-proof, environmental, sustainable story. So it's a relatively new range for us, getting a lot of interest in it, and we are starting to see lots of orders and inquiries come through. So it's a product clearly I need to learn more about, as I scored 4 out of 9. So I'll be doing some homework this afternoon. And
clearly James knows a lot about it already, and that's really good. So he can advise on that product if any inquiries come through from
absolutely. Yeah, so james.sherreard@backerelkhausen.com. Newly created
is the new position within Backer. James, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, James.
It was a bit of a cheating win, because as soon as I got a lead, it was strategic just to choose whatever.
Hey, I'd have done the same. I'd have done the same. Don't worry.
Ahead,
no. Well, thank you for joining us. And speak to you soon. Take care.
Okay. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Well done.
You'd built it, to be fair, Graham, that in our messages between each other, you'd built this quiz up, and you weren't doing yourself a disservice. That was great. Excellent. Can we get other people joining in it in future, though?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if people want to join in that in future, now you've seen it working. When that little when the little thing comes up on the screen, and in fact, what I need to do is I just need to go and have a look at the settings in it, because you should be able to put names in there. So I'll make sure that people can put names, and then people will be able to join in and see how good they are.
So I'll be able to be shamed by more than one person next week, is what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. I think it's a very good idea. Maybe what we could do is any of your ergonomist friends out there, etc., or if there's anyone from any of the dealerships or whatever, if they want to play along,
that'd be good.
If we let them know, and then they can see how much they know about the product.
So let's see who knows their onions.
Yeah, let's see who knows their onions. But I think it's good, and I think it's a great. In all seriousness, it is actually a great way to learn gamification. Because why would you actually? I mean, I know with some things you do pick some of the detail up as you go along, but things like that, the height that something goes to, or the depth that something goes to actually get that in there, you almost do need to play a little game like that where it's being brought up. So that's something for Backer to think about in the future.
Brilliant, really good. And funny enough, Graham, actually, I mean, quickly, we're talking about gamification. One of the things we do with our software is which is all around movement. There's a little gamification element to that where people can earn trophies and medals and those sort of things. So you're right. I think it's a really good way just to bring a bit of fun to something. So you're learning, and that, as you say, that little bit of fun, bit of gamification really encourages participation.
Now we're going to talk. I don't know whether we've still got Tony here. Let's just go back to Tony's comment, but we're going to talk today about driverless cars. We've got to talk about this subject because it came up on the poll yesterday. It was just a little story that I saw. You know, I personally used to live near Milton Keynes as well, so I know the Milton Keynes area. I understand why someone would test driverless cars in Milton Keynes, because it's on a grid system. You know, when you drive through Milton Keynes, you get all of those on the boards, the direction boards, etc. You've got those different icons in yellow, those different shapes in yellow, and they tell you whether you're going north, south, east, or west as well. Yes, Tony's waiting patiently.
Oh, excellent.
Great, well done, Tony. Thank you very much. So the topic of conversation is driverless cars, yes or no, and really, is there any reason for driverless cars at all? So Tony goes, people's natural instinct is to believe they are better drivers than they really are. Driverless cars will inevitably become more and more popular with people going to work and their cars out working as taxis. They will be far, far safer. However, there will be significant loss in jobs, including the taxi and HGV and delivery drivers decimated. Now, I think that's personally, I think that's a long way off for a start in terms of things like HGVs. Maybe I'm wrong. These cars that I saw on this particular news story that are being tested in Milton Keynes look like those little Renault smart cars. Do you remember? Those? Yeah, they're little electric ones or whatever. So they're really quite small. Just to clarify a couple of things, it's being you order it up via an app.
Okay.
It's being remote controlled by an operator. So it's actually a bit more like a drone. So someone actually can see it on a system and knows where they're driving it. And presumably they've got a set route and things like that as well. And I believe the information from the news story said as well that to begin with, there will be a safety driver in the vehicle as well.
Okay.
Just in case. Right. So with all of that in mind, thoughts on driverless cars?
I mean, the mind boggles really with something like that. I mean, it was really interesting that, you know, I saw the poll come up yesterday morning and sort of put my sort of two penneth in with an answer in the poll. But it was really interesting, the comments that sort of came out throughout the day, Graham. It just sort of built and grew this debate, didn't it? So
well, apparently, according to Tony, HGVs are already being tested. Mr. Elon Musk is discussing this quite a bit. Wow.
But the thing for me, well, there's 2 points. I mean, one of the things that myself and Tom Morley were discussing yesterday on the poll was, do we not have other things to be focusing on? You know, from a scientist perspective, you know, there's lots and lots of things that probably need addressing before we get to this. So, you know, we talk about, you know, things like, you know, the decimation of coastline, and you talk about food problems and water issues around the world. Should we not be focusing our scientific energy on those? That's one side of the discussion. The second side is you know, the reaction times, you know, someone stepping out into the road, someone observing an incident. Can you ever fully replicate / replace that human instinct with someone who's controlling it or with the actual vehicle themselves? That would be the thing that I'd be thinking is, I might see out of the corner of my eye a cat come across the road or a dog run across the road, but will the technology be able to pick that up? That's the really interesting thing for me.
Well, James has just commented in the background on the private chat that they're not really driverless at this stage, are they? No, they're not. But I guess with testing, one has to be careful and sort of take baby steps with these things.
But what does this actually, Graham? Is this to replace taxis? Because you're never going to have your own driverless car, are you? If you're doing a family holiday or whatever it would be, you're never going to go driverless. You're going to drive that yourself. So are we just talking about replacing taxis that run you from A to B?
Maybe.
And therefore, you know, what's the parameters of this sort of project?
Okay, so I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate in here, and these views are not necessarily my own, but let's just look at from the poll some of the other side of the story. So as Tom was saying on the poll yesterday, that, you know, and as you've just said, actually, aren't there greater world issues that we need to be dealing with and putting this money and research into? Okay. There were other people. It was quite interesting because there were other people that were arguing that actually this is an environmental benefit.
Okay.
So, and I always find that fascinating that, you know, on the one hand, you've got someone saying there's no environmental benefit to this. This is, you know, this is just putting more on the road and it's actually using up more money and more resources. And then someone else saying, actually, this is actually could have great environmental impact from a positive point of view. And what they were saying, what they were trying to argue was that actually what we need to do is see a reduction in people owning cars and people having their own cars on the road.
Okay.
And if therefore these could be replaced by shared cars as and when you need a car that you then summon, use, and then goes back into a system,
okay,
that actually reduces the number of cars. I see some logic in that from a, you know, from what they were trying to say. The other point that somebody made was, is this, or could this actually be a real benefit to those that are disabled?
Okay.
All right. So there was
who are you saying are unable, who are physically or mentally unable to drive a vehicle themselves?
Yes. So it's enabling.
Okay. Yeah.
In as much as rather than have to rely on someone. But then, of course, you know, is that any different from it being a taxi driver coming to the door? It's
yeah.
So there were some of the other viewpoints which I thought were quite interesting. Now, on the safety side of things, there were a lot of arguments from people saying, well, actually, this is going to be safer than driving.
Okay.
And interestingly, when I told my son, who's a bit of a geek, last night about it.
Okay.
All right, this is my 16-year-old who's studying maths and further maths and physics and all of that.
He's a clever lad.
Yeah, he's an A-star student. He did say, he said, the first thing he said was, but he said, computers don't make mistakes.
Oh, okay.
Right. He said, yeah, computers don't make mistakes. People make mistakes. So even if a computer goes wrong, it's not the computer itself, because a computer is pure logic.
Okay, it's it's what's been inputted into it, and that's by a human.
And that's by a human.
Right.
So, I mean, he was taking the viewpoint that actually, because one of my sons said, well, oh yeah, people are going to crash all that. You know, what happens if someone has exactly what you said? What happens if someone just steps out? And he said that won't happen, because the logic will be built to stop that from happening. And he said, actually, if the sensors are right and the cameras in it are right and everything else is in it right, the likelihood that machine will crash compared with a human who might be looking at their phone or might be listening to some music and taking their eye off the ball or arguing with the kids in the back of the car is going to be minute. So here is Tony's opinion.
Okay, I just saw it appear. Okay, here we go.
I'll give you my opinion regarding reaction time. I was driving in a 40 mile an hour per hour area and might have been driving around 45. So a driverless car would be going 38. So already there's a clear advantage regarding reaction times with 7 mile an hour loss. Yeah. In other words, people will break the law. With acceleration. Also, the car is observing the road all the time and it's not influenced by drink, drugs, tiredness, mobile phone. It's exactly what I just said, really. There are studies already showing that they are far safer. An old example is aeroplanes more or less drive themselves. It's really, really interesting subject, this.
Because you've got to counter the fact that I'm suddenly like, I think you referenced it, or it might even want to be in Tony's earlier comments, is you've got to be careful that you don't put so many people out of jobs, because if you're going to suddenly lose all these drivers and all the associated people to that, who's going to pay for it? the people who are left working with higher taxes. So you've got to be very careful. And you could create mass unemployment here. So where's the trade-off? So, okay, we've got that. What do we do with all that engineering expertise? What all those drivers? I know it won't happen with the flick of a switch, but over a period of time, what are you going to do to replace those lost industries without creating mass unemployment? Because there is an argument with a lot of things that, certainly in manufacturing, if you make too much of it reliant on machines and computers, what happens to the humans?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, here's another interesting perspective on it from that side of things. So I'm juggling in terms of my position here, but also, let's just think about the mental health impact of this. And that's, again, something that did, to some extent, come out in the poll yesterday, which was a lot of people, all they said was, no, I'm driving my car. And what I take home from that is that I think for a lot of people, and I can remember when I first passed my driving test and I went out for that first time on my own in the car, that sense of being able to take yourself somewhere, wherever you want to go, and getting away from things, and the freedom of that has a endorphin effect on it. It actually has a very positive effect on you, right? And even now, if you're having a bad day, just being able to get in the car and maybe drive for an hour somewhere is actually can be a really positive experience. I've done a lot of driving in my life. On the contra side to that, I've been stuck in traffic jams for hours and hours and that wasn't really very pleasant at all. Right. So would I like to see less crashes on motorways and cars that regulate in terms of distancing and whatever, so that, we just keep a good pace and never stop? Yeah, I'd love to see that. But the driving aspect, would we actually, not only would we put a lot of people out of work, but also would it have a massive effect on people's mental health if people couldn't drive? These are some of the things that maybe some of the people that are playing with the technology don't consider. I'm not saying that they don't. They might. But maybe they don't consider, because in the race to advance us to automate every process, are we thinking about the advantages of that process actually being more physical? Look what's happened in music. I'm always going to bring things back to music, I do.
Music and ergonomics.
Yeah, ergonomics and music. But look what's happened in music. Try as everyone may to get everything digital in music. And I remember reading Q magazine years ago when they said, by X year or whatever, we won't see any physical format of music. It'll all be digital. Right? What we've got at the moment is we've got this strange thing happening where music sales were up last year.
Yeah.
They continue to be up in terms of digital form. Just over 80% of all music consumed is digital. It's streamed or downloaded, etc. But the biggest increases and the biggest comeback are in vinyl.
Yeah.
Right. Why? Because there is a growing amount of people, again, who long for the difference. They long for the tactile. They long for the presence of something in their hands. Right? They long for the warmth of something. They actually even love the experience of, I can't just skip and listen to this bit by bit or 30 second. I've literally got to sit, listen to that one side, then get up, go to the record player, turn it over, do the other side, might even have to wipe it and whatever. They love that. They love the tactile experience.
And Graham, as well, you're the music expert amongst us, but also, I guess, some bands write albums and put the songs in a certain sequence to tell a story from 1 to 12. So therefore, actually, you're not getting the full experience by going, Alexa, skip, pressing the button. Actually going from 1 to 12, 1 to 10, 1 to 14, there's a story and it follows, and you get, I guess, a better experience by listening to it all the way through.
Yeah, there are different different philosophies coming out from different musicians, and maybe from different ages as well. Although I'd say it's more of a thought process rather than necessarily generational. But yeah, some of the bands that I talk to are very much of the Spotify generation,
right?
And actually have not resided, but they've decided that actually the way that they want to produce their music is in a more immediate form. So they will concentrate on the singles. They will do the EPs. They will get stuff out quickly. It will be digital. It will be downloaded. They will, they're focusing in terms of revenue, they're focusing their efforts in other areas. By maybe creating merchandise and or selling other stuff, or holding down a day job in other areas or whatever to subsidize their music. And then there are people that really still want to make albums, and tell a whole story, and a single piece of music isn't long enough. And they want to release stuff on vinyl. It's why a lot of musicians last year had a problem in that they created albums because there was still plenty of people locked down and there wasn't the opportunity to get out and do gigs. So they produced albums. So they had all of that material made, but then got to the end of the year and found that certain people had sold so much vinyl that they couldn't get hold of any vinyl pressing time or vinyl. Yeah. So, certain records by certain people beginning with A held up the whole process.
Yeah. Is it with music? Is an analogy with a book, a physical book, and something like a Kindle reading device? Is it the same, would you say, in terms of the experience of reading a physical book versus an electronic version of the book? Are they two the same? Are they different?
That's really interesting. I started to change my mind a little bit on books.
Okay.
In that I was always an avid. Well, for years I didn't read. For a start, I'll put my hands up to that. I hated reading, and then it was because I hadn't found my niche. I hadn't found the thing that I wanted to read, and then I discovered the right thing to read, which was autobiographical books, and mainly autobiographical books by musicians, which I can read till the cows come home, and I've read hundreds of. But I always thought, I want to physically have a book in my hand, and I enjoy it more with a book in my hand. And I tried Kindle on a Kindle, and I didn't like it. Okay. But you know what? I've actually started reading. Right, the last few books that I've read, I've actually read on my phone.
Okay.
And I've actually quite enjoyed the experience.
Yeah. You see, I always would ask. I know we've gone past the Christmas bit, but I would always ask for 1 or 2 books for Christmas. And this year, I asked for a voucher to buy that book because I actually prefer the book electronically now. And I also think from an environmental perspective, and I know it has impact on some of the, the bookshops and all that sort of thing, but I'm used to it that way and think I prefer it to have just one device without building up books and books and books. But I always find with books, what do you do with them at the end of the day? You pass them on to maybe a charity shop or whatever it would be. And I guess you lose that sharing piece. But I've sort of gone to a Kindle, and probably 3 years ago, and in reality, I don't ever see me going back to a physical book.
See, I think maybe the realization for me was that it was going to work. The reason I changed was because Google Play, I do the surveys. Hi, anyone else that does the surveys.
Yeah.
If you don't do the surveys, why? Because you're telling Google about yourself, but they know anyway.
Yeah.
Right. But you get paid for it, so it's an advantage, right? And I used to spend that on digital downloads of music, but then Google stopped their music download store. So there was apps left or books, and I thought, I'll give books a try. and so I started downloading a couple of Tracy Thorn's books. The singer from Everything But the Girl, who writes great books. And I think for me, it was that when I tried it before, I tried it with a Kindle. And the thing for me was I was trying to see the advantage of a Kindle against holding a book.
Yeah.
But like a lot of things in life, the advantage came with it all being on a phone. And I just think, isn't that a natural progression of everything, every other technology that's migrated to a phone? Once upon a time, in our bags for work, we carried a data bank, we carried a camera, we carried a mobile phone, we carried a this, that, and the other, and we had all of this junk in our bag.
And now it's just this.
Yeah, and we had to individually get all of these items out to do all of the different things with them, and it was a nightmare. And now, you've got and battery life's got better and processing speed's got better, etc.
Yeah.
So now we've got that, and so now it's like, well, hang on a minute, back into the book again. I was like, oh, what we're doing that now? Oh,
yeah,
and away we go. Oh, look, I've got 2 minutes on a bus. Book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's where I think it's where technologies integrate with things that we've already got in our hand. That's where they work really well. But I still think there will be. I think that will rebel to some extent as well. I think there will be some books that we will want to lavish as books, especially if they've got especially if they've got real meaning to us, or perhaps they come with something. Books have got to do the same as music is trying to do. They've got to differentiate themselves if you buy the physical.
Yeah.
So if you buy the physical book, it can't be the same as the version that you get electronically.
So in other words, compare again vinyl against digital music. It's that vinyl is plugged into it's identified its differentiator and sold on it, hasn't it? And maybe that's what the books and the Kindles need to do. What's the real advantage? How is the end user experience enhanced by physically having the book as opposed to this little screen next to me?
Correct. Yeah. And I think if we do that, if we start to, if people do that, then that's it. But I'd like to say that I think that some of the artists that are most interesting are those that play around with how not just their art form, but how their art form is delivered. Now I can now tell you I've got a world exclusive that I'm now going to announce here.
Okay.
Next Monday on LinkedIn. Actually, no, not on LinkedIn. It's going to be on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
Okay.
Next Monday, I'm going to be interviewing Christian Hirsch, which will be fantastic. And of course, she is an author and a musician.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I think she has done so well is that kind of bending of the expectation. So there were a couple of books she released as albums. Get your head around that. There were a couple of books she released as albums. So there was two books, three books she released, which were albums as well. So she released them as books and then gave the music away with the book.
Okay.
Right. So she wrote a full book, gave the music away with the book, and they were charted in the book charts, not the music charts.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right. And I think some people are going to start bending with that. I've talked to other artists that have said, right, actually, I am releasing this new album as part of an art exhibition. Yeah. So you go.
So cross-platforms.
Cross-platforms. You go and see the art exhibition, and the music goes with it, and you need to experience, because I think it's all about experience.
Yeah.
Right. And I think humans long for really decent tactile or sensory experience. And I think, you know, whilst it's great that we can stream stuff quickly, whilst it's great that we can just download and restart, there is an absolute pleasure in experiencing something which is a bigger experience. And therefore, I think what artists need to strive towards is being able to create the bigger experience, which you have to buy into.
Yeah, and we've been starved of experiences, Graham, for 21 months, haven't we? Let's be honest. There's a real appetite for people to get that type of multi-platform, cross-platform experience.
I'm just sad that I never got to go and see Shed 7.
Is it rearranged yet?
Rearranged for next year. I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to my mate Andy, who organised it. But there you go. Great conversation today.
Enjoyed it.
Hope you enjoyed the new game. Oh,
yes.
Goodness. Next week's one, just to give you a little clue, next week's one, the special question in it has got nothing to do with Sutton Coldfield.
Okay.
There you go. Right.
Thanks, Graham. So
that's great.
I'll spend the next 5 or 6 days just trawling through the website and putting all those little numbers up there.
The main thing will be a product from the Back Alkhuizen library.
Okay.
And then there will be a special question which is on a subject of my choice.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right.
And next week we're Tuesday, aren't we? Tuesday the 11th next week.
Tuesday the 11th next week. If you want to play the game next week, just come with a mobile phone, just watch the screen, put the code in. You two can play along. I will make sure you can actually put your names in, so your names will appear on the board. But there we go. And don't forget to contact the Back Alkhuizen web people about Twee.
That will be resolved very soon. Thank you, Graham.
That's great, isn't it? Well, unless Twee is a thing.
Well, it could be. It could be.
Just let's be fair. Unless it's a thing, in which case we will all stand corrected and we'll let you know what Twee is next week.
Absolutely.
Until then, bye for now.
See you next week.
Bye.